As we approach the end of another calendar year, it's time to start preparing to do the employee annual performance review. I'll explain how to prepare for that in this video. Hello, I'm Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. As we approach the end of the year, people are starting to think about their annual review, and a lot of business owners, especially startups or very small business, tend to put this on the back burner and not think it's really important. But employees expect to be given feedback. Now, if you're a good leader and taking on a coaching leadership style, you're giving feedback regularly throughout the year. You're letting them know what they're doing well, where they need to improve. You're sitting down and having conversations about performance. So there should be no surprises at the year end. But typically, employees feel they should have an annual review, and many people tie that to expectations of either a bonus around Christmas time or the new year, or also to get an increase in salary based on their hopefully good performance. So the first thing is you want to be prepared for that, and you want to make sure that you do that review if it's expected from your employees, or even if it's not. It's a good practice to take a little bit more time at the end of the year. And yes, do you want to hand out bonuses? Can you afford to? Do you want to look at pay increases? Now, pay is a whole other topic that I can't get into in this video, but I can talk about bonuses. And you want to plan this. You don't want to just come up with a bonus off the cuff. You want to think through how much can you allocate out of your profits, if you have any, to giving bonuses to employees. And that's the first step as part of preparation. If you're anticipating wanting to give bonuses, do you want to allocate a percentage, 5, 10, maybe even 20%? Of your profits to employee bonuses, because that's really a great way to retain people, keep them well compensated, so they know that if they perform well next year, they're going to be in for a bonus. Actually, I was helping a client to hire a new salesperson, and he's interested in joining the company. He's currently working somewhere else, but he doesn't want to leave till the end of the year, the beginning of next year, because he wants to capitalize on all the bonuses that he could have. So that's something you want to consider when you're looking at giving out bonuses. And as for wage increases, that would depend on your outlook for that. What do you want to do as far as keeping salaries competitive? You want to make sure that you're at least competitive in the marketplace, and maybe in the higher range for, the really talented and hard to fill positions. You want to retain them and not make money an issue. So that's one thing that usually ties into performance reviews, is talk around bonus and money. But you want to be prepared with how you're going to conduct the performance review. And that, again, would vary company to company. Some companies have put something into place where they have performance criteria that they review every year with the employees, and they discuss what they're doing well, where they need to improve. And so if you have that in place, you just want to make sure that you're prepared when you meet each employee, what feedback you're going to give. The other thing is, if you don't have any criteria, you don't want to scramble at the last minute and put together criteria. I know people tend to do that, but I don't think it's a good practice. It's a good time if you want to introduce the criteria for next year. You can when you're doing the review, say, look, we've been doing it informally this year. We're having a conversation, but next year I'd like to implement this criteria. And I just want to give you a heads up because now you'll know what you will be evaluated on for next year. It's like, going to play a game. You know what the criteria is that you need to perform to win to the next level or to win that game. But you know it up front, what the rules of the game, what the competition is all about. And so the employee can be prepared for that. But if you don't have any criteria in place, and this is true for a lot of startups, a lot of small business, maybe haven't taken the time to implement that, but at least you want to sit down and have a conversation so people know where they stand. Because it's really not good for an employee to not know, to not get the feedback, to know how you see their performance and doesn't align with what they feel they're putting out in terms of that performance. I use that analogy often. It's like going bowling. When you go bowling, you roll the ball, you hit the pins, and you get your score up on the board. It's all electronic today. But imagine that when you're bowling, as soon as the ball passes a certain point, a curtain comes down, you hear the balls hitting the pins, and then there's no feedback. So you don't know the score you got, how many pins you hit. You can only hear them. And that's really doesn't tell you very much. So the fun is not just, rolling the ball down the alley, but it's about knowing how well you did. And it's the same thing for employee performance. People want to know how well they did. So what you may want to do if you don't have any criteria is to make a T on a paper, and on one side write plus and the other side write minus. And the plus is, what are the employees doing well? And on the minus, what do they need to improve? So, you can consider different things in terms of performance. And I always like to use, how is their productivity? How is the quality of their work? How is their initiative? How is their problem solving? And how is their communication and teamwork? How well do they work with others? So those are kind of like the 5 areas that I think are really important in terms of performance. And I actually have a worksheet with definitions for those that you could download and use as your criteria for next year. It's pretty general, but it really covers the most important things that people need to do to perform well. And I even have a method called the KSS method. I talked about that in several of my videos, where you could use the KSS method to give feedback. So K is, let's say, for productivity. What is the person doing well that you want them to keep doing? What in relative to that competency should they start doing that maybe they're not doing? And what should they stop doing? What's a time waster or something that's not adding value? So the KSS method is a great tool to use as part of the performance appraisal to engage in discussions, give positive feedback, and then encourage improvement, and to write it down using that form. And there's a link in the description of the video below to where you could sign up to get all my forms. They're all free. I make that available. And so you could use that form and others related to employee performance, such as job descriptions, goal setting forms, and use those tools as part of your leadership management. So that's basically it. Prepare yourself. At least if you don't have any criteria set, you don't have a system, sit down, have a feedback session, tell them what you feel they're doing well and where they can improve. But also you ask them, you could even start with that. What do you feel you're doing well? What are your strengths? What have you contributed? And then what do you feel you can improve upon? And then you exchange on that and you come to a consensus of where the employee is at. And then you could discuss about the bonus or the raise if there is one, or the bonus if there is one, depending on your situation. But think it through, allocate a certain amount of funds, allocate time to do this. It's really important for employees. And it's going to also allow you to get a sense of how they feel about their work, how they feel about the company. You want to engage in these conversations as part of a retention plan as well. So they don't walk in your office one day and say, hey, this happened to one of my clients. One of the employees walked into the manager's office and said, hey, I need time off to go to a job interview because I'm leaving the company. I want a better job. And that was, pretty shocking. I mean, it wasn't a great employee, so it's really an opportunity to find somebody better. But doing these types of conversations will give you the pulse of how the employee feels about the situation at work. So I hope this helps. The key is being prepared. And if you're not structured, don't worry about it. Just do the action, and you can introduce some structure for next year's review. I hope this is helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell to get news of new videos. If you like this one, give it a thumbs up, share it. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.